Hey, Sabs.
When do you leave on your trip is?
When do I leave? Sunday. Yeah,
So all meetings next week are off.
say again?
Meetings next week are all off.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I can say it now, I'll say it again at the end. But yeah, there's no meetings next week at all. Because I fly
Maybe
back.
Zabi can sit in for you.
Yeah, maybe. You can if you want. Yeah, but possibly. Someone said, will there be a live stream from Ireland? Um, well, if you mean me, no, but I don't know if Kenneth's live streaming. I know that he usually does. I think he usually does the live, maybe. He tries to, but it's a retreat, not a weekend, so it's a bit longer, so I don't know if he will or not. But all the details are on his website, or you can just email him as well. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, hello everyone. Nice to see you all.
Hello, Izzy.
Hello, hiya. Hi guys, nice to see you. Um, yeah, okay, well, just a bit of housekeeping then. But yeah, apart from that, this is it. So what we seem to talk about in the meetings is really that life has nothing to say. Life is not going anywhere. It has no goal, no destination, no reward, no outcome or realization, no meaning, no purpose, no motivation, no drive, absolutely nothing at all. The suggestion here is that life, or what seems to be happening, is nothing at all. That's what life seems to be. Nothing appearing as this, appearing as life or whatever. And so, of course, this is wonderfully liberating and freeing for no one because life does not matter in that way. Nothing matters in that way. There's no one who cares what happens in that personal sort of sense because there's just what happens without somebody in it who cares. Um, Yeah, so if we want to call this a message, we can, of course, but it doesn't need to be called a message because this isn't really saying anything at all. There is no actual message that's being suggested or spoken. In fact, that is the only thing we seem to call a message, that there isn't one whatsoever. So again, this is wonderfully freeing and liberating because there is no teaching. There's nothing that anyone needs to learn or know or understand or recognize or remember or repeat or recite for this to be what it is. Life seems to just be a wonderful gift for no one that appears to happen, doesn't actually happen, just appears to happen. And it's totally free of needing anything. It doesn't even need you to be in it. It doesn't even need you to be aware of it or to become it or to know it or to merge with it. It's so wonderfully free and so boundless and wild that it doesn't need anyone in it. it just seems to do itself, you could say, and seems to appear in certain ways, and it can appear in any ways, and it seems to just dance with itself, you could say, for absolutely no reason at all. And this is not some far away, far-fetched sort of thing or concept or idea. What's being suggested on these meetings is what's happening right now. What seems to be happening right now is full-on life happening right now, apparently happening. Sitting on a chair, looking at a screen, there being an apparently alive body, an alive human organism that sits on a chair, that breathes, that functions, that looks at a screen, that maybe thinks or asks a question or whatever. This is as alive as it gets. It couldn't possibly be more alive than this. How could it be more alive than this? It is impossible. So the wonder and the mystery is that sitting on a chair is what seems to happen, and sitting on a chair is a full-on, boundless aliveness, boundless love, boundless freedom, already for no one. So the amazement, you could say, and the joy is that for no one is that just sitting on a chair is so full on juicy aliveness. Just sitting on a chair. It doesn't have to be anything amazing, and it isn't actually anything amazing for someone. But actually the amazing thing is just how ordinary it is. That's what seems to be so stunning, is just how ordinary and simple this is. There's nothing spiritual about this. There's nothing special. There's nothing magical or mystical or otherworldly or sort of another dimension or some sort of amazing awareness or recognition. No, the wonder and the beauty and the simplicity of this is that it is so bloody simple and ordinary. It is breathtakingly ordinary. It's just bodies sitting on chairs, feeling what they're feeling, thinking what they're thinking, doing whatever they're doing, and just an apparently very normal, simple life seeming to happen. Or not, or whatever, it doesn't matter, because it's always so simple in the end. It's just a body doing whatever it seems to do. And this is what's happening right now. So this message actually is not saying that anything is going to happen, because nothing's going to happen. It's not saying that anything needs to happen, because nothing needs to happen, and nothing will ever happen to anyone, certainly not to you, but also not to no one. Nothing's going to happen. There's not going to be an event or an awakening or a death or a liberation or a moment. None of these things exist. They can't exist because all of these things would only ever happen in time. And the suggestion here is that there is no such thing as time. Time is an appearance and real time is an illusion. There's just what seems to be happening, which is naturally timeless, you could say, already. So in that sense, this message is simply an illumination, which is, I quite like that word because it's not even a pointing. It's an exposure or an illumination of how it already is. So nothing has to change, nothing will change. But what this message seems to do, for absolutely no reason whatsoever, is it seems to just illuminate how it already is for everyone on this call. It's a simple, very, very simple thing that seems to happen here. However, of course, what can also seem to happen is the experience of it being very complex and the experience of it being very complicated and very difficult and very mind-bending, exploding. Like, I can't get my head around this. I can't understand this. I can't work this out. That's also fine. And there's quite a fundamental reason that you can't work it out. And that's because what's being suggested here is there is nothing to work out. There's nothing to work out. There's no problem. So the life of the individual, the seeming individual that seems to feel as if they are someone, is absolutely fine, but it just turns out to be an illusion that never actually happened. But it seems to be a very frustrating, stressful life because the individual is constantly trying to solve a problem that isn't there. And of course, that's going to be stressful because the person is constantly trying to put together a puzzle that does not exist. There is no problem in life. There is no issue to solve. There is no mystery to be resolved or to be illuminated. And of course, the very common thing is that people will then come to non duality, and there being no one is then the biggest new problem that they put into their slot. So it might before have been drugs or addictions or alcohol or trauma or relationships or enlightenment or whatever, stories or money, whatever it comes up with, and it just like lives with on a day-to-day basis. And then it will come to non-duality, and then all of the energy will be put onto this one event of when I die and when the me dies and when there's no one. And that's also absolutely fine. It's just a very common thing that seems to happen when people come across non-duality. Um, there's no problem with this, but the good news and the bad news, you could say, is that this event, this thing that you are waiting for to happen, for the me to die, for the me to fall away, for there to finally be a recognition of there being no one, is never going to happen. It does not exist. And the only recognition that is actually seemingly significant is the simple recognition that it does not exist and that there is nothing to recognize and that nothing is going to happen. So it's a total contradiction and a paradox, as life seems to be, because the only recognition there actually is the simple recognition that there isn't one. So you can't make sense of that. No one can. The mind just cannot go there. But it's an energetic reality that can seem to just collapse and open up. So this is not speaking to the individual, but there's just an energy that speaks here and an energy that can seemingly resonate with this. And that's fine, but it doesn't have to. That's also fine. Anyway, yeah, that's quite a waffly introduction. So we'll leave it there for now. And see what comes up. Yeah, there's quite a few of us tonight, which is nice. Some new faces, maybe we can see what happens, I guess.
Hi, Izzy.
Hello.
Hi there. It's so amazing. There are no rules. There's only nothing. It's,
Yep.
yeah, lovely. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, it's total anarchy.
Yes,
Yeah, it's amazing.
wonderful. Yeah.
Hello, you can unmute if you want.
So, in practical terms,
Mm.
how 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 do we how do you suggest that we carry on life? Is it not pushing stuff to be other than what they are, or to be okay with what is, even if it is not okay? I mean, when you're sick, you take the first treatment, it does not work. You take the second and the third, but you don't say this should have worked. It is not working. Or I don't mind what happens, Krishnamurti. Or not complaining. Is it in
Yeah, well,
practice?
yeah,
Okay.
I know what you're trying to say. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you're trying to say. Yeah. But the suggestion here is that there's just what's happening, and there is no one who is in it or who experiences it or who has a relationship to it. There is just what's happening. So it's impossible for anyone to even accept what is or be with what is. I mean, this is just trying to be present or be aware or whatever, and that's fine. But the suggestion here is that it's based on the assumption that there is someone in the body who can do that. And that the suggestion is also that that is a dream. There isn't anyone in the body. There's just what's happening. There's just sitting on a chair. There's a headache. There's taking a tablet. There's feeling better. But none of those things are personal and none of them are experienced and none of them are happening to anyone. So, insofar as any advice, it's just impossible. There is not even a suggestion that's being made here to anyone. The suggestion is that there isn't anyone. And so there's nothing, it's not even that you can't do anything. It's just that there is no you that can or can't to begin with. There's just what happens. So there's no advice, there's no prescription, there's certainly no teaching or suggestion because there's no one to talk to. And there's no one who's listening. Who, even if there was advice, then there may be advice and then they may be following the advice. But the suggestion here is that's just wholeness appearing as that. And it's not being done by anyone and it's not being received by anyone. And anything that seems to happen is just wholeness appearing as that. So if there's advice, and whatever it doesn't make anything more whole and complete because this is as complete as it gets already. Nothing's missing.
So whatever is happening is perfect just the way it is.
In a sense, yeah, in a sense, but it's not perfect for anyone and it's not experienced as being perfect. It's actually perfect in the absence of there being someone who can judge it or feel it or believe it or think about it.
So all the crimes, the rape, the torture, the corruption, all this are perfect in your way
Yeah.
of saying perfect.
Yeah, but when we say perfect, we don't mean good. Where it's just
Yeah.
this word perfect is an attempt to describe the indescribable nature of wholeness as being just perfect and complete in its appearance. So when these terrible, dramatic, devastating things seem to happen, it's not saying they're great, they're good. Oh, whoopee, fantastic. I'm so great. That's so wonderful. No, it's a complete misunderstanding. It's just basically saying that it's complete as it appears as that, but it can be good, bad, it can be everything. It is everything.
Like in a movie. Like in a movie, you will not say the crime was bad.
Yeah, but also you can also say that crimes are bad and crimes are bad, we could say. But that's not
Yeah.
really what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is that inherently there is no right or wrong, good or bad. There's just what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can also just have very normal judgments about things. Of course, certain tragedies are bad and not nice and nasty and painful, but that's not quite what we're talking about here. Is that it's still wholeness appearing as that. There's nothing missing in its appearance. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Nice to speak with you. And it's a perfection that can never be seen, can never be experienced, and can never be understood. It just is. It just is.
Can I ask another question?
Of course, yeah, of course.
So, do you know the Baya Sutra in Buddhism?
No.
So it is like this. Somebody was asking the Buddha for enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
What to do to be enlightened? And this is what he said, the Buddha. He said, in the seeing, there is only seeing. In the heard, there is only hearing. In the cognized, there is only cognizing. And later, the guy got enlightened.
Mm. Mm.
So what I don't understand what is meant by that.
Well, I mean, yeah, those words are quite nice. I mean, I delved a little bit into Buddhism for a while, but I'm not sort of really familiar with lots of things. But yeah, those words seem fairly direct and clear, that there's just seeing, there's just hearing, there's just thinking or whatever. But of course, the dream is that someone can listen to that and get enlightened. That's a dream. There is no such thing as personal enlightenment, and there actually is no such thing as enlightenment. So really, whoever you feel yourself to be, and whether you feel yourself to be a Buddhist or spiritual, or if there's someone who's completely not and just, chasing money, everyone is on a path to what they feel is enlightenment, if we want to use that word, or freedom or liberation or death or whatever. If you feel like an individual, you feel as if you are on a path towards something. I mean, I prefer the word freedom than enlightenment, but it doesn't matter. And what the exposure that seems to happen on these meetings is that future pot of gold that we call enlightenment or freedom or liberation or whatever, it's this. It's not going to happen to anyone in the future because it's happening right now to no one. Sitting on chairs is enlightenment happening, and it's already not happening to you. But there can seem to be a experience that clouds this somehow, that veils this somehow, the experience that I am alive and that I have a life and I am on the path towards my enlightenment in the future. And that's fine, but it's simply suggested here that that's an illusion. That you are on a path towards enlightenment is an illusion. You're not. There's just simply sitting on a chair happening. And ironically, that is the enlightenment that is sought.
Can you explain in more details? In the scene, there is only seeing.
Well,
So
that can't be explained because it just is how it is. I mean, how can you further explain that there's just seeing is just seeing? It can't, it's indescribable, it's inexplainable, and it's not experienced. There's no one who experiences seeing just as it is. So it can't be described. It's just pure. It's totally pure, boundless energy, seeing, hearing, feeling, touching, tasting, thinking. It's just boundlessness. But how that actually is cannot be described because there's nobody at the center of it who is even experiencing it to be able to describe it or know it. There's just what's happening. So it doesn't run deeper than that, that seeing is just seeing.
You mean there is no seer, and
There's no
seeing.
seer, yeah.
Yeah. So there
And
is
there's,
only the verb.
and
Only
there's
only
no
verb
seen.
exists.
There's also no seen. There's no one who's looking, and there's nothing that's being looked at. There's just looking apparently happening, and there's no experience even of that. And it's already right now. It's not, it's nothing to do with understanding the words and getting your head around this. What we're talking about here is totally energetic, and it's something that's happening right now. There's already just seeing, talking, touching, feeling, tasting, thinking. It's already happening. It's already happening.
What do you mean? Many teachers use that word. This message has nothing to do with the mind. It is all energetic. So what exactly does this mean? Energetic. It is energetic, not having to do with the mind.
But it doesn't mean anything. It means absolutely nothing at all. It's just energy, and energy is empty of everything, including meaning and purpose and understanding and direction. Energy is just what appears to happen, but there's no one who knows what that means. There's no one who understands that statement, and there's no one who experiences what energy actually is. I have absolutely no idea what's being said here. It's just talking coming out of nothing, and it's got no reason, or it doesn't come from knowing. So when people ask me to elaborate on what I've said, there's no elaboration. There's just what's being said, but it's not coming from some knowledge or some internal message or theory or philosophy that I can sort of then elaborate on and explain more. It's just purely what it says on the tin in that sense. It's just energy, and that's it.
And did you mean seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary?
Well, no one actually sees that in the end. It's just how it is. You will never see that because it's just how it is for no one.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Izzy.
Hello, hey Jason.
One of the old faces here, not one of the new faces.
Ah, my
But
commitment, yeah.
so from the perspective of life, so to speak, not that there is one, but there's no rejecting of anything that happens. There's no accepting of anything that happens. There's just what appears to happen. Boom.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Boom.
Yeah.
And then somehow or other, some unknown how or whatever, for no reason, whatever, there's this whole thing of rejecting and accepting, and it's like this whole constant dance and interplay relationship. Like, I guess I don't know if there's a question really, but it just seems kind of like, how does that even happen?
Yeah, it's a mystery in that sense. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and I can wonder that sometimes. It's a mystery as to how any of this seems to operate. Yeah. It's magic in some ways that there's just energy appearing as everything, and it can also appear as this contraction that seems to then do this sort of thing. There's no answer. It's amazing really that it can seem to appear in any way.
That anything, I mean, like the tree or the house, or I mean,
Yeah.
anything, that there's anything at all appearing, is how does that even happen?
Well, of course there's no how, but the wonder if you like. There's a sort of subtle wonder to it then, because it is marvelous and magical and mysterious, not in this sort of deeply mysterious way, because there is no mystery, but it's just there's just a joy somehow. Just it's so simple, and yet it's so stunning how anything is seeming to appear. But for the person, when there's someone that needs to know how or why, it seems to kind of kill the wonder of it somehow. And then when that question dies, there's just the stunning kind of simple wonder of there's just rain falling, and it's just wow. It's just it's not that there's anyone who's like, God, that's amazing. It's just that there's a subtle kind of joy and a subtle taste of sort of that wonder and curiosity, because nothing is known anymore.
It seems like that kind of just shows up throughout the day at times, whatever, at times. And then there's this kind of like the simplicity is like too simple somehow. It's like the simplicity comes across as boring. It's
Yeah,
like,
it will. Yeah.
Again, how could that be? But yeah, I don't know.
Well, it does. For the individual, this is boring and this is constantly rejected, because for the individual, it's like, oh, what? It's just sitting on a chair looking at a screen, like, because when you feel that you know what this is, it kills the boundlessness of this. It kills it, and it turns it into something very stale and very flat and very known. I know what it is to sit on a chair. I know that I'm on a meeting, and I know Izzy's going to do this and say this, and then people are going to ask, and I know all this. It just seems to kill. It seems to kill the wonder of it. When there's no one who knows what's going to happen, there's just anything could happen. Anything could happen. There's no rules as to how these meetings go. The same kind of patterns seem to go on, but anything could happen. Nothing is known. Nothing is known. And that's a sort of, again, not to play it up, but there's a subtle ecstasy to that somehow, because it's full on aliveness, and anything could really happen.
Yeah. Which again is like, oh, that could be scary or that could be really awesome. It could go either way. It's like unknown.
Yeah, and I
Could go either
guess
way.
that's what's confronting. I guess that's what's confronting for the person, because even coming to the Zoom meetings for the person, there's a comfort in it. Okay, I know Izzy's going to do an introduction, and then she's going to say this, and then we're all going to speak, and then she'll end it, and then it will be another meeting, next time. And all of this, there's a sort of comfort in that kind of thing. When there's nothing known, it's total vulnerability then, because there's no longer anything to protect you in that way. There's just anything could happen. Someone could come on screaming and shouting, the whole Zoom meeting could collapse. Like, anything can happen. It's total full on aliveness all the time. Yeah.
Yep.
And when it's raining or whatever, or it's sunny, just simple things like the weather, or the clouds in the sky, there's no one who knows what they are. And so there's just this full-on aliveness of whatever's appearing, and there's no one who knows what this is at all.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
The insecurity seems to be so scary for the individual, doesn't it?
I guess, yeah, it is. Yeah, it can be. Yeah. Doesn't have to be, but it can be, depending on the system and depending on that person. It can be very confronting, because when you feel like a person, you live in the known. You are the knowing. And what you're basically being confronted with here is the unknown. And so people actually feel that they really want this, and the person really feels it wants this, until actually someone comes to take your hand and right now will take you into the unknown. And then when that time comes, it's like, no, actually, you know what? I'm okay in the known. I'm okay in my safety. I'm okay, with knowing what's happening. Like, when liberation comes for you, it's not so exciting anymore necessarily. It's actually very confronting, it can be. because it's the end of your life as a comfortable individual who can plan everything and control everything and be on top of everything and have a life that's together and that's well formed. And yeah, it's the end of that. It's the end of that experience.
But in the same time, it's totally allowed to be that also, like to feel unsecured.
Yeah, ironically, there's naturally, in the end, there's no problem with feeling with the unknown. It's not, you know, the only thing that it feels scary for is the thing that wants to know.
Yeah.
But when that's no longer there, there's just the unknown. And it's actually just always okay as it is. There's no need to know what it is. It only seems scary when there's the desperate need to know what this is. It's impossible. It's a constant losing battle. The individual is constantly trying to know what this is, and it doesn't, even in all of its attempts. And whenever it maybe thinks it does, it actually never does. Who could know what this is? Who could possibly know what sitting on a chair looking at a screen is? I mean, no one knows what seems to be happening. No one knows what's going on. It's amazing. It's just what's happening. But when you know it, it kills the sort of the joy of it. It kills the wonder. It's so boring then when you know what this is. It's so boring.
It reminds me of my children when they come into the age when they always ask why, why, you know.
Yeah, I was having a chat with another friend about that actually. It's funny because I think he was saying it was when his kids were about 2 or 3, which is when we seem to talk about this contraction coming in. Obviously, it's just a story. There's no rules for different bodies. It may seem different. It may never come in for some bodies. Who knows? But yeah, there can often then seem to be this period in the child's life where all these questions arise. Whereas before that, there weren't any questions. But that's fine. That's also fine. It's just innocence appearing as that.
Hi, Izzy.
Hello.
I was wondering if you're quite young, and I was wondering if this has affected career goals or ambitions about the future planning compared to your peers. Have you noticed anything different?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as in here, there aren't any. That would be the difference, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Not that
there
there's
used to
anything
be?
wrong. There's nothing wrong with those things, but just here there
Mhm.
aren't any anymore.
But there used to be, and that's what's changed for you,
Um,
or
I mean,
nothing's.
for the last, I'd say actually since I was 18, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Up until I was 18, I wanted to be a professional cricketer, but then I stopped playing sport. And then after that, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then actually this sort of really intense seeking began. And then for about 4 years, it was just very much about this search for whatever I thought it was going to be, some sort of release or freedom. Um, and so, yeah, for the last 4 to 6 years, there haven't been any the only goal was freedom, um, which actually it only ever is, even in career goals and ambitions. The ultimate underlying energetic desire is for freedom. The person doesn't care about the money or the job or the status. What it's looking for is release from all of that, from the need to do all of that. And ironically, it tries to find that in all of that. It tries to find release from what it's looking for by looking more. So that's fine. That's just how that energy seems to work. But yeah, to not waffle on too much, the short answer is, yeah, the only apparent difference. Well, to be honest, most of my old friends, there's just not really such an energetic attraction towards them anymore, because I can't really relate to that world in terms of climbing the corporate ladder and, just working their whole life and just that sort of thing. I just can't really relate to that world, and that's fine. So most of my friends now seem to be non-duality, but yeah, that's just how it seems to be.
That's great. I find that, I've always been pretty lazy, but lately it's been
Oh, you're
guilt-free
calling me
laziness.
lazy?
No, I'm
No.
calling myself lazy. And there used to
Yeah.
be like a lot of guilt around it, and now sans guilt is even more laziness happening.
Oh
And
yeah, this is the total end of guilt and shame. I mean, that just dies. There's no one to feel guilt or shame, and there's nothing to feel guilt or shame about. Like sometimes this can just stay in bed for days if there's quite a lot of heavy energy going on, and there's no problem with it. There's no issue. There's no, oh, I need to get out of bed. Like sometimes I'll want to because it was nice to go on a walk and actually just move my body. But, there's no story about like, I shouldn't be doing this, I should be more productive. No, because there's no goal. Really, when you feel you should be productive, there's some sort of goal in mind and the goal just collapses. So lying in bed is no different from hustling about and making millions.
thank you.
I mean, this is basically the ultimate laziness because it's not even saying there is someone who's lazy, it's the end of you. So, but then actually the body can be quite energized at times. So it may go on a run or a walk or do some exercise or, be quite high. Like there's an aliveness in the meetings and the body can get quite high and just be quite energized. And so it's not, not lying in bed all day, but it's just everything can all happen. Yeah. And it's all allowed in that sense. There's no one saying no to it anymore. Yeah. Yeah, I think I heard someone told me about Andreas joking about that actually, how because someone said to him, when you're sort of out drinking and you sort of have that little voice that comes in, we should probably stop drinking now and just call it a night. And someone was like, so does that just not come in anymore? And Andreas was like, well, no. Yeah. So it can be a problem because there's no one telling you to stop drinking. Yeah, it's good fun, it can seem. Yeah. Oh, thank you, love. See you. Oh, you're not going, maybe. You're just saying thank you. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, because when you feel like a person, there's sort of certain things that are allowed and certain things that aren't. And it's not always conscious, you know, and it's not even unconscious, it's energetic. There's certain sort of things in life that are okay and I can deal with them and they're allowed. And then there's other things that are off limits, you know, if that ever happened to me, I just could not cope, kind of thing. And what this is about is this is the end of that kind of sphere of safety. Like, this is just everything, anything can happen. Yeah, ironically, everything that wasn't allowed seems to then happen, you could say. Yeah, yeah.
Hey, Izzy. Adam
Hey,
here.
Adam. Hello.
Nice to see you.
And you. Lovely to see you.
Yeah, the one thing that really resonated with me so far is that there's just no recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that
Yeah, it's such a relief.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah, but there's just energetic aliveness.
exactly. Already. Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough for me, but because it's so scary, you know, me is
Mm,
this body can't got here because you know it was just tense and scared um and um to not have myself, you know, is
mm,
scary. Yeah,
mm,
yeah. But,
mm.
so,
Yeah, ironically, actually, what is most confronting for the person is that this is already it. It's sort of by projecting liberation into the future or projecting boundlessness into the future, it kind of makes this more safe for the person because it lessens it, it dampens the intensity of the energy, it controls it, it contorts it, it creates a little bubble for me to be behind. But actually, what is most confronting for the individual is that it's happening right now. Yeah.
but it's nothing. I mean,
It's nothing, exactly, which is also, again, what's most confronting.
yeah, yeah. Because you
So
couldn't
ironically,
what's happening right now. I mean, yeah, like what's happening right now, you couldn't say. It's just a wall. It's
well,
just all
what seems to
happening.
be happening right now is sitting on chairs, body breathing, talking to Adam. That's what seems to be happening. And that is nothing being everything as an energetic reality. It's not some sort of, you know, you can't sort of the person will try to sort of abstract this. Oh, it's nothing, and it kind of then puts a mask on this as being nothing, and still that sort of that distances itself from this. The reality is that what seems to be happening in its pure aliveness and apparent solidity is nothing being everything, and that's then that can be quite confronting, perhaps. So ironically, the person often comes and is like, oh, I'm so sick of the seeking. I want the seeking to end. I'm suffering so much. I can't do this anymore. But ironically, actually, all of those things are what's keeping it safe. And if someone said to you, okay, then, you know, it's all just going to end now, the person would actually be like, oh, no, sorry, no. I was joking. You know, I'd much rather carry on suffering than die, than not be there. That's the reality for the person. It would much rather suffer than not be there at all, because at least if it's suffering, it still feels that it has a life.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, Adam. Good to see you.
And somehow yet we are every single night going to bed knowing that we're gonna lose ourselves completely. We're not gonna feel like we exist anymore for a couple of hours or whatever. And we are not afraid of that. Of that we are not afraid, but we are afraid losing this while we are conscious of ourselves.
Yeah, but actually that's a dream. There's actually already no one who's afraid of this.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a dream. It's a dream that there's someone who's afraid of this. There isn't. That's part of an illusion that never happened.
Yeah.
There's
Because
just what's happening.
Yeah, there is no difference between day and night.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
In terms of no one wakes up, no one goes to sleep. There's no
Yes.
actual transition. And I see what you're trying to say, but the thing is that the fear becomes another thing that seems to reject this and mask this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's so much fear of my own absence. And that's
Mm-hmm.
just another thing that seems to put it off. It doesn't have to, it's not scary. It doesn't even happen. But, you know, I know what you're saying. From the individual, it can be terrifying because it's the end of your life. But actually, the fear is just a very strong rejection of death.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. But it's as real as it gets for the person in terms of dying. This is as real as it gets. There's never going to be a more real death than this. It's the end of your life. You know, you don't survive this. You really don't. It's not, you know, the person brings so much into this, and I did too. I always just genuinely felt, and it's only really looking back, but it was so clear that I felt really right until the end when it started to become more obvious that that's not what this is saying. I always felt this was going to be the death of something, like some part of me or some upper layer, but the deepest part of me would remain, something like that, that there would be this sort of me death or this ego death or whatever. Then it was very clear that no, this was the heart, the core, the gut of me was going to die. This was the end of my life. The thing that I had projected into my elderly years was here right now. And I was like, oh, Christ, no. I mean, I didn't think they were talking about that kind of death. You know, I thought they were just talking about, you know, an ego death or an enlightened death. No, they were actually talking about death. Oh, crap. Yeah, it was too late then. Unfortunately, I just I had to enter the coffin. Yeah, I really didn't want this, and no one does, but it was just, yeah. My maker was waiting for me in Andreas. Oh, it's so funny.
Hi, Izzy.
Hello, hi guys.
My
Hi.
wife Joyce.
Hi, nice to meet you.
She's new to the message, but she really enjoys your communication.
Oh.
Anyway, I wanted to tell you about a dream I had last night.
Mm-hmm.
I was guiding people to their death. I was
Oh.
escorting them. Yeah, there was there was an incinerator with a metal door, and there was a ladder, and I was escorting people and helping them climb the ladder, and they'd get inside the incinerator, and I closed the door. And most of the people, they went willingly. They weren't like happy about it or eager, but it's like they knew it was time to go. And so I'm escorting all these people, and nobody was really resisting. But one person started resisting, and a couple of us had to wrestle the person into the incinerator and got him in there, closed the door, and it was done. Well, guess what? Then it was my turn.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, it was my turn. And guess what happened?
You didn't want to go in.
Hell no, I ran.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's a nice anecdote. Yeah.
That was
So
a literal dream I had last night. It was crazy.
Yeah, it can be very much like that. Yeah, and energetically, when when that confrontation happens and it's like someone saying to you, right, you're next, you now. Then it's like, no, I'm just happy to, I'm just sitting, I'm fine. But actually though, that is what the person longs for, to just jump in, like, fuck
Yeah.
it, that is what the person longs for. But there's so much resistance to that too, because it's the end.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't want to die.
Yeah, exactly. And
But I'll help you die.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know that exactly. Although I thought I did, until energetically there's this
Mhm.
and then it's like, whoa, okay, no. Yeah.
Exactly. I just thought I'd share that.
No,
Thanks,
thank
Izzy.
you. That's a nice story, Ben. Yeah, it's so confronting. It's so beautifully confronting for the person. It's of course no one comes to the calls, but excuse the language, it's a surprise in many ways that anyone even comes to this, because if the person really knew what this was about, they would not come. And yet there is something else that seems to also long for this. So there's kind of seems to be two things that go on there in a way. There's this kind of like constant rejection of death, but then this somewhere in the system, this openness and longing for it, which just can seem to paradoxically go on, pardon me, at the same time. And so really this message is not speaking to that afraid, terrified, rejecting part, because it cannot hear what's being suggested. This message is speaking to no one, and you could say it's speaking to that openness. And for different systems, that openness can seem to be different to different amounts, you could say. Of course, there's no way to measure this, it's just an energy. And what can just seem to happen is that openness can just blossom suddenly. It's there in every system. Even if someone's never heard of non-duality and has no idea what we're harping on about, this remembrance, this recognition is there in every body mind system, in every organism. There's this energetic kind of remembering of this. And so really that's what this message is speaking to. And somehow just listening to the words and just coming to the meetings and just hearing the song, they're without the understanding and the knowing, this openness that's in everyone can just start to just blossom and flourish, and just hear it a little bit more and hear it a little bit clearer. And then maybe this openness can just flood the whole system and just swamp and stifle and suffocate any remnants of me and my life. Energetically, that's all that just seems to happen. And of course, everything I've just said is just a total bullshit story. So, take it with a pinch of salt. It's just energy. So, yeah. Well, yeah. So, oh, this is it. So, there is nothing else. It's not going to become anything. There's never going to be anything that's realized, and actually nothing is ever going to actually open up, because in this openness, you could say, there's a simple recognition that it never went away. And that's indescribable how that is, because when you feel like someone, you feel as if you're there, and maybe I've had a glimpse and that's something else, and I need to get to that, and I need to fall away. The stunning mystery and surprise for no one is that when the individual dies, it's suddenly very clear that there never was one. There never was an individual. So if the individual dies, they may be looking back at all the meetings I attended with Izzy, and it will be so clear that you were never on any of them. That going to the meetings just seemed to happen, that sitting just seemed to happen, that asking a question just seemed to happen. But there never was, oh, thank you in the chat, there never was an individual that was in that. There never was an individual that did that, and there never was an individual that will actually die. So what we're simply talking about here is a freedom that is radically, directly, and unconditionally already the case. It's already the case. It's never going to happen. It's never going to become, because it's already happening. Sitting on a chair, looking at a screen is the alive, direct freedom that you so desperately want. It's right here already. And it's unmasked and naked and bare for everyone to see. It's this. Oh God. Right, that's a bit enough for now, I think. Otherwise, we're all gonna go a bit mad. So, yeah, well, that's a nice meeting to finish on, I think. I won't be around next week. So the Monday, Wednesday, and the Friday are not going to be on because I'm going to see Kenneth in Ireland. So yeah, the week after should be fine. It's all on the website. But anyone can still ring me if you want to, you know, if you're missing the meetings or whatever and you just want to have a chat, you can always just ring me up. And we can have a short chat on the phone. My number's on the website and YouTube. It's everywhere. You should be able to find it. If not, you can message me on Facebook. Like, I'm happy. I'll still have my phone on, so I'm happy to still chat with people. That's absolutely fine. I won't be doing one-to-ones or anything like that, but you can just text me or ring me if you want to ask something, or just say hello. It's always lovely to connect with everyone. So yeah. But yeah, lovely to see everyone. Lovely to have so many of you here. This video will go on Patreon as usual. I'll get around to uploading them. But I hope you have a lovely rest of the weekend and next week, and I'll see you all sometime in a couple of weeks' time. Yeah. Take care, guys. Lots of love. Thanks for coming. Oh, greetings
Thank
to
you,
Kate.
Izzy.
Yeah, I'll send my love.
Izzy.
Yeah, take care. Have
Thank
a lovely
you.
weekend.
Bye, Izzy.
Bye. Bye. Thanks for the hearts.
Oh,
Bye.
thank you.
Bye.